Oh, it says. All right. Let's see. Oh, it says we're live. We're live. Okay.
We're live. Hello.
I gotta. I gotta turn this off. Okay. All right. Three, two, one. Welcome to BatYard's finest, bringing you the finest of Batman, Superman, and more in pop culture. Um, I am your host for today, uh, and Merry Christmas. And we're gonna talk about Christmas with the Joker and It's a Wonderful Life, 1946. And I guess we'll go in order of other hosts.
What's up? I'm Tony. Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays. I'm Jerry. Merry New Year.
Merry New Year. We're in the in between like purgatory stage of Christmas and the New Year.
Right.
So we still had time to do our Christmas episode. I wanted to apologize for last week. I mean, not last week, last episode. I wasn't able to join. But I do want to say my brief thoughts on the matter before we go into BSBS. The Spider-Man cartoon was pretty bad. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. Blade Blade kind of looked like a white guy at first. He just looked really tan, and then I was like, "Oh, that is Blade." And then the movie was really cool. I like the movie. I love the effects. You know, it had like that early 2000s, late 90s, like that was EDM music. It was definitely like how Wesley Snipes like caught his sunglasses in the air and like did his like moves and stuff. I don't think you could really get a better Blade than Wesley Snipes. Well, like some of the blood stuff was kind of gross, like the ritual at the end. I was like, ew, this is disgusting. But I mean, they're vampires, so it works out. But yeah, all in all, it was a good movie. I suggest I would love for like what they well, I wish what they would do with Blade is like basically take Blade and do Army of Darkness, where he goes back in time and he has to like fight all these vampires like Dracula and stuff. I would love that, but that's
That'd be fun to see.
yeah. So I did watch. I did watch them. Yeah, that Spider-Man cartoon was really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot like way back then. Everything was a part of a big plot for the season, and then there was small shit in between.
Yeah, there was a lot of other plot elements. Like he turned into like an actual monster spider in a previous episode. Which, like, I understand the gist of what was going on, but like, I just hate his monologues in that show. He talks himself way too much when he's talking. So I just want to start the BSBS with probably the biggest thing. I don't know if you guys talked about it last time. The Superman trailer, the James Gunn movie. I forget Superman Legacy. That's what it's called. Crypto is in the movie. What are your thoughts?
We talked about it a little bit, but now that you're here, we can go more in depth. So, Josh, how does it feel knowing that there's an actor who looks like a great value version of you playing Superman?
I don't know if that's true, but I don't know.
Got the same jawline.
Yeah, well, I can see that. I could be a stunt double or something, maybe.
Now that you're here, I'm very on the fence about it.
Mhm.
I don't feel strongly, positive or negative about it.
Yeah,
for me, it's just. Oh, what in the world?
You're like flipping out.
Just freeze? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think my computer.
You're there.
Slow. But I don't feel too good about it. I don't feel too good about the new Superman. In all honesty, like I'm glad we got Crypto in here finally. I'm glad that there's a Green Lantern. I'm not too pleased it's Guy Gardner. And Nathan Fillion looks like Coconut Head from Ned's Declassified. And then I still have no idea who he's fighting. And then Lex Luthor honestly looks like the best physical appearance as far as the actors are concerned.
I would say, yeah, out of movies at least.
Yeah, out of the movies. But I don't know. I'm very on the fence. I think it'll be good, but I'm not expecting it to be.
Yeah, I think, well, with James Gunn, his other Guardians of the Galaxy movies have been like really great. You know, I haven't had a dislike for any of those movies. This movie, I'm not on the fence. Like, I think it's going to be at least decent. It's going to be pretty good, but I'm just worried about like they're going to put too many characters in it. And it's not going to be like the main focus on Superman. Like, they already have Hawkgirl and Guy Gardner and yeah, who else is in it? They have like other. What's the other guy? The guy with the T face. They have him in it.
There was a few
too many
cameos I wasn't expecting, so I'm like, oh, I actually need to go back and rewatch it and pay attention.
We got 2 comments from Cliff on comics. Josh is handsome, but don't be treating David Corn sweet barely. Nathan Fillion is hideous monstrosity in this film. He's talking about Guy Gardner's portrayal. I think he looks stupid, but like he looked dumb in the comics, so I'm fine with it. You know, it's like that's his haircut. Oh, Mr. Terrific, yeah, that's it. Yes. So well, that's what I'm kind of worried about is just introduction of too many characters because we still have to introduce this version of Superman and that version of Hawkgirl and Mr. Terrific and all these characters. So that's what I'm a little nervous about is just like how much dive into depth they're going to go into like each character because they have to set up each one and like who they are,
Yeah, and I'm definitely getting PTSD from Batman versus Superman where it was like, okay, we've got Ben Affleck's Batman, we've got Henry Cavill's Superman, we've got Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman coming in, and then we see like, okay, there's Flash, there's Cyborg, there's Aquaman, all these other people, being introduced, and a thing that I don't like is having all these characters introduced in one film. You could space them out. Like 1 is fine, but 2 is really pushing it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I do feel I would agree with you at least with the Justice League movie because when that movie first came out, they had to introduce the Flash and Cyborg, and I think Aquaman too, right? Like that was another one.
Yeah.
I hope it's just not another version of that. What do you think, though?
I think like if anyone can handle a movie with like a lot of new characters being introduced, it's James Gunn. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy like brought in like 8 new characters to the universe. Suicide Squad kind of did. They were introduced in the movie that was scrapped and then reintroduced. But I mean, it's not really supposed to be an ensemble movie. It's Superman, so. Hopefully the focus is still on Superman.
I hope the focus is on Superman. I think there's too many people online. I've been seeing like them comparing this to like Henry Cavill. Like I mean that's just kind of done. Like I feel like people need to move on at this point. It looks like at least it's going to be a little bit more lighthearted, colorful Superman. So I am looking forward to that. And he has his undies back, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, he's wearing his undies on the outside again. That's not my favorite design choice, but I was like, okay, I guess we're going back to basics.
Yeah, I kind of liked how they're going back to basics with that. The S kind of grew on me at first. I didn't really like it. It's definitely like Kingdom Come Superman, but I don't know. It kind of grew on me. I kind of like it.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how James Gunn is going to handle this. Because, we said it before, but I've seen different people talk about it, and I've talked about it with different friends and coworkers. I think the superhero fatigue is definitely setting in, and now it's going to be the same kind of. I hope it's not his same rinse and repeat, style he did in the Suicide Squad and the Guardians movies. Like, I hope he takes a different approach to it. I've got faith in him, but when that's what you're known for, it's hard to deviate from it.
Yeah, those are our big ensemble movies. So, like, that's his strong points. Is like these added touch kind of characters, like kind of joining in forces, and they're obviously outsiders. I mean, Superman is an outsider, but he's like a mainstream character, so it's a little different than like tackling like Star-Lord or like Rocket Raccoon or something like that. So
Yeah, because these are the people he's trying to introduce. They're all big names in the DC universe, obviously.
right.
Excluding Superman, Guy Gardner, and Hawkgirl. So it's just, I'm still curious to see who the villain's gonna be, because I thought I saw something that looked like Brainiac, and in one scene,
Yeah, I don't.
but I didn't pay it close enough attention. I was like, is that Brainiac, or did I just imagine it?
I don't want to look too much into it. Like I could go on IMDb and figure it out, but I honestly want to go as blind into this movie as possible. I don't want to know too much about this movie. And the only reason I watched the trailer is because I saw all these images online. I'm like, all right, well, I saw kind of enough of these still frames, so I'm gonna watch the trailer. It was cool. It got me it got me hyped up. Like I'm gonna see it regardless. The one thing I thought was curious that they used the Superman John Williams theme, but like as a slow guitar riff throughout the trailer. So I don't know if they're gonna incorporate that. Oh, Tony's gone. There he is. I don't know if they're gonna incorporate that in the movie or not. And like I don't know. It's kind of like a sadder version of the John Williams theme. It's not like that uplifting, on like score that we usually hear. So I don't know how they're going to incorporate that into it.
Yeah, I've got some high expectations, and I've got some low points that I'm expecting to see in like the middle and end, because that's kind of how James Gunn goes. The beginning will be strong, and then the middle and the end will drag in certain places. But I'm hoping it's a good movie. I do want it to be.
Yeah, Cliff says they're trying to cheat code our feelings, and yeah, I did feel like that. I'm not gonna get tricked again, because I feel like I was tricked with like the Force Awakens trailer. They do that like the slower version of the Star Wars theme, and they did that in the Ghostbusters trailer. So I'm not gonna really fall for those same gimmicks as much as like I used to. At least when they first started to do these things. Cliff also said this movie is clearly Action Comics 775, except that we have the Terrifics in place of Elite. Then this is a dumb Ultraman side plot. Also, he meant poorly, not barely, for David Cornsweet. I think he's good. I think the new Superman looks the part. He definitely has like the Clark Kent look,
and he does have my favorite look of Clark Kent. I will agree.
I liked how the kids, like, there's like kids that were like enjoying Superman. They're like calling out to Superman. He saves a little girl. And then there's one kid like crying out to Superman. That actually got me. That one kid with the flag, the Superman flag. I'm like, yeah, that's what Superman's about. This, the kids care about this character. He's a hopeful character, and like uplifts all these little kids and little children. Like should be able to look up to him. I don't think Henry Cavill was that for any little kid. Really, it's not his fault. It was the script was terrible.
It's a history of bad scripts are definitely being shown.
But that's mostly all I want to say about it. I don't want to say too much until I see the movie. I honestly kind of want to avoid more trailers in the future. I don't know. It's going to be hard for me because I know the pictures are going to show up online anyway. So
I think after this trailer, I'm going to try to stay as much off of like social medias, YouTube. Just different places I know where they get early, where someone gets an early leak of a trailer and they just start going wild, posting everything. Because I do want to go in blind and just have an honest reaction that's not been coerced, so to speak, by what I see.
I guess it's the most viewed trailer Warner Brothers has ever had. So like a lot of people have seen it, which was cool.
It was trending number one for I think like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, I think crypto had a big reason for that.
We finally get the Super Pup.
Yeah, that'll be fun. He looks like a terrier. Usually, I see crypto, at least in the comics, as like like a lab.
He's like a lab or some kind of
like a pit bull or Argentinian dogo.
Always some kind of medium to large dog.
Yeah, but this is like a different take on it, which I'm not mad at. I think it's so cool. He kind of looks like that dog from what the heck is it? Tintin. It's like the Tintin dog.
Oh yeah, I've never seen Tintin, but I've seen the dog.
It's Snowy. I think his name is Snowy. It's like Snowy the dog. Yeah, that's all I had to say about Superman. The other DC news. I saw the Penguin show. It's really good. I do recommend it.
I just started watching it again. Well, I picked it back up. It is
that's
good.
Cool. Yeah, it is very good. I do recommend it. Tony, you watched it too, right?
No, I haven't gotten a chance.
I thought you were talking about it. Like,
I think I started the first episode and heard it was really good, and then I lost track of it.
Oh,
I liked what I saw of the very beginning, but I think I was mentioning I was like, he's just Tony Soprano.
I remember that now.
Feel for sure. He's definitely more. He's definitely a different character, but yeah, there's definitely similarities between the two. Like if you're like just watch The Sopranos and you want some of that feel, I would watch this show for sure. I like how like Batman. They don't even mention Batman in it. They don't show him at all. The only Batman glimpse you get is like the spoilers. It's not really the big spoiler. You just get the spotlight at the end. The Batman spotlight, and that's it.
I wonder who they're gonna bring back. Who they're gonna bring in for Batman?
Well, it's gonna be Robert Pattinson's universe. It's still in like the.
Is it still Robert Pattinson's universe?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it actually made me want to rewatch that movie. I haven't seen it since the first time I saw it.
Yeah,
I can't. 3 hours? Oh man, that was a long haul.
It is a long movie.
I remember watching it in the theaters, and then spoilers for the old movie. They're interrogating Riddler in the end. And I thought I legitimately just thought the movie was over, and it's like, nope. I liked that it got me, but it was like, nope. There's like a whole other
when the
act of the movie,
45 minutes left.
It all goes underwater. I thought that too. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I remember saying this. This is the last thing I want to say about the Batman, but I remember saying this in our first review of the Batman. Like, I don't know how they're going to top flooding the whole city, with the sequels. They are making a sequel. I know. I think Mr. Freeze has something to do with it. At least that's what people are kind of like itching towards, because there's like all this snow imagery that they're kind of showing in these posters and stuff. But who knows? It'll be Arnold again. Yeah, he's going to freeze it
again, please.
Yeah. All right, I said too much. What you guys got? Any BS or anything you want to mention?
I really said all of mine last episode.
That's fair.
I really don't have. I dropped a whole lot of stuff, so I'm like, I don't have anything else left in the tank.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything. I did hear that the new What If is funny.
Oh,
I don't know if you guys are watching those. Yeah, apparently
the new season 2 of What If, right?
Yeah, I think that or season 3. I think I haven't watched any of it, but I've heard the plot of some of them, and I've kind of wanted to go back and watch them.
Any of those?
This one is supposed to be like Howard the Duck has a kid with a different character in
I saw something with an egg. Yeah, I saw a picture.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's supposed to be. It sounded like a funny concept. It's supposed to be good. So that's all I had. I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah, well, that's cool. That was all the BS I had anyway. We're gonna move on now to Christmas with the Joker, Batman the Animated Series. And Tony, I want you to take the plot on this one.
Sure. Christmas with the Joker begins with an iconic scene that we'll talk about. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's iconic, but Joker escaping Arkham while singing Jingle Bells, the unrated version on the back of
the Batman Smells one.
Yeah, on the back of a Christmas tree. And then so Robin just wants to go home and watch our feature. And instead, Batman is dragging him around trying to find the Joker and stop any petty crime in the process. And they see the residents of Gotham experiencing Christmas and being having Christmas spirit. And then suddenly, when they go home to actually watch the movie, Joker, I think he doesn't just hijack their TV. He's broadcasting to everyone in Gotham his own Christmas special where he's kidnapped. They didn't call him the commissioner, but they kidnapped someone in his family. But he looked like traditionally what the commissioner looks like.
They got the.
I don't know who
it was. The commissioner. They got Harvey Bullock and the news reporter. Summer something. I want to say.
And then they're hanging them over a vat of acid. I don't know if it was on like a timer or something, but basically the whole episode is just Batman going and stopping these crazy little things and traps that Joker has set up across Gotham and saving Christmas.
Yeah, basically.
That's it.
Summer Gleason's her name. Yeah, she's like the news reporter. I think they invented her for the show.
Yeah, I heard him say Gleason, and I was kind of confused because I was like, that doesn't look like a Gleason. That looks like the commissioner, but I didn't know he was just talking about her.
No. Yeah, that's definitely Commissioner Gordon.
Okay, that makes sense.
I've seen this like multiple times. The only two questions I have now, like I just watched it again just to refresh before. What happened with that tank that's just killing, like running over, wreaking havoc in the city? Like that was, they just show that.
I had many questions on like, are we just never gonna go back and do this again?
Yeah, I think that's like more daunting than like 3 people getting, murdered, I guess.
Or a whole train track being blown up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Supports and all. That was I was like, are they just not gonna do anything? Like call an emergency like construction company, say, hey, the Joker just blew up a fucking train track. You guys make a makeshift.
Oh, maybe they had that call on the way to his broadcast location.
Maybe Alfred's dealing with the paperwork.
Yeah, he would have to be, because some of these things are gonna definitely be more than just a quick phone call to the government.
Yeah, that was my other question. Was like they just like leave the conductor in the middle of the nowhere and like like bye. Like he probably froze to death. Like that guy. That's not made it.
Like they didn't give him a blanket, any hand warmer, some sticks and a lighter to make a fire. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. He has a log cabin somewhere close. He lives there. I don't know. Yeah. I wanted to say like some of that train imagery, talking about the train tracks, it does look like I was getting a lot of flashbacks to like the Max Fleischer Superman show. There's like an episode with the train, and I was like, oh, they probably pulled some stuff from that, because I know that was like a big inspiration for their team, like for the animation style for Batman animated series from the Max Fleischer Superman. So I just thought that was a neat like little thing. Tony, have you seen this before? Have you seen this episode?
No, I think I've seen the beginning. I don't know why. I feel like I know this from somewhere. I've definitely seen the very beginning where he escapes, and I think I just was doing other things. On HBO, it said I watched it.
Oh, okay.
HBO said I was in the last 5 minutes, so I definitely did watch it. But
I gotta say, the Joker riding a rocket-powered Christmas tree out of the asylum. My question is, how did it get there, and did no one get to check this?
Yeah. Why is there a rocket on it? Like, how did he get that on?
Like, how is he just smuggling these parts in here? What is he doing? Like, I know it's all in the theatrics of it, but I can't help but wonder, where does he get some of this just equipment and just store it?
You think after a couple dozen escapes from Arkham, he would be in like solitary and not in like the Christmas room with all the other general population inmates?
Or he'd be in like maximum security behind different.
Yeah, he's just out in the open. Yeah. Yeah, that is true. He shouldn't have like that access at all. He should just be in a cell.
But something I do think is absolutely hilarious is when he was doing the ventriloquist thing with his hand.
Oh yeah, I love that.
I like that.
I could not just help but laugh because he's having a conversation with himself about what he's gonna do.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we know he's gonna do it. Why is he just
Yeah.
I thought this was funny, so I sent it to my friend. I had the caption on. It says bridges. I love blowing up bridges.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, let's build a snowman. It's just like, what the fuck?
It was the most Joker thing that could happen.
It was
without going off too far off the rails, I should say.
Yeah, I like the idea of the Joker just taking over a holiday and just wreaking havoc. I know they did something like that in a long Halloween where Joker basically like takes over like Christmas in that like chapter of the book. So it's kind of fun like that he's almost like the Grinch in that, you know. And this he's just a maniac. He's just having the most fun, like, a wonderful life will not be showing, and he's just broadcasting his just like his theatrics. It's just like,
boy, I sure hope Batman's watching because I would hate to commit a triple homicide on live television. You know, it would really just suck to know that, man, Batman has all this power, but I've got to blow up a train. I got to drop some people in some acid. I have to have a mounted turret go off. Like, gee.
Yeah, exactly. It's just insanity.
And then for me, Bruce Wayne being like, all right, we got to go. The Joker's out. We got to look for him. And Robin's like, dude, it's Christmas. I have a Christmas movie that I have to watch. Like the whole Batman's on this end, Robin's on this end. And there was just never an in-between.
Just until then, when they finally watched the movie.
It's kind of funny that Robin just does not give a shit that Joker's on the loose. He's
he really does not.
He's like, but it's a wonderful life.
Yeah. Like at this point, of course the Joker is going to take over Christmas. Like, if he escaped Christmas Day or Christmas night, like, obviously he's going to, like, want to wreak havoc and, like, completely take ownership of that holiday. So I don't know what Robin's saying. He's like, yeah, it's fine.
He was like, you know what? Let's just give him this one freebie. You know what I mean? Like, it's Christmas.
Exactly. I like the incorporation of the Nutcracker like theme at the end where they're like fighting the toy soldiers and all that. Like, that was fun. And then I like Robin like trying to explain what It's a Wonderful Life is to Bruce Wayne, like to Batman, like, yeah, it's like he saves the community just like you. And he's like, yeah, I could never get past the title. It's just like those like little moments. It's just like that's like the best parts to me. It's just like their interactions.
Yeah. The whole time he's trying to, be open and understanding, like, okay, well, maybe it's a good movie. And he's like, but the name, I can't get past the name.
Yeah.
It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
And this guy saving a community. What's so Christmassy about that?
Yeah. So do you guys have any final thoughts on Christmas with the Joker?
Seeing the Joker in a holiday sweater, I've always forgotten that it is both festive and it's very funny that he wore a just traditional like holiday sweater. Nothing crazy, no gags in it. It was just a regular sweater you could buy at like Walmart or something.
Yeah, I wish that hand puppet thing would come back in other episodes, but I don't think it did. I think that's the only show.
Review. It's funny start to finish, and it's always good seeing, Bruce and Robin have more interaction outside of crime fighting. And the fact that it involved, Christmas, which is supposed to be, the happiest time of year. And Bruce is like, I don't know. Do we really need to watch It's a Wonderful Life? Like this was good. This was a really solid 7.5 for me.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I'd probably get this like an 8. I'm like leaning towards a 9, but I guess to be like, there's a little. I wouldn't even call it like plot holes, just like things that just don't like end or like get finished off, with the tank and everything. So yeah, I'm gonna give it an 8. This is something I watch mostly every year. Like it's definitely up there with one of my favorites.
Yeah, I'd probably give it an 8 too. I think that it's fun and festive and kind of just like a chill episode. It's probably not like the greatest story of Batman that this series has, but it's like super cool for the holidays, and
it's definitely one of the funniest Batman the Animated Series episodes for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's very good.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was good. All right, we're gonna move on to It's a Wonderful Life, 1946, starting.
Damn.
Yeah, Jimmy Stewart and Donna Reed. So Jerry, would you do the honors?
Yes. So It's a Wonderful Life is a really touching, feel-good movie about a guy named George Bailey, who's had, even in his youth, this grandiose plan to, leave town, go live his life, go quite literally see the world. But, things happen along the way. He, throughout his life, he encounters different misfortunes, and he's like, he'll get his hopes up and then he'll get shot back down. And he just keeps going through this up and down hill until eventually he hits a point where he's contemplating, taking his own life. And then his guardian angels are talking and they're showing him, what the community he helped essentially save from a, oh boy, what? I don't even know the right word to describe him. He's just a dirtbag, really.
Oh, Mr. Potter.
Yeah, Mr. Potter.
Yeah, he's just like a tycoon, like
Monopoly man.
Yeah.
Like a real sleaze bag. And so, once he sees that his younger brother, who he saved from drowning, died, his, wife is just a old maid librarian who, everything that he didn't think made a difference, he made a huge difference in. And then, at the end of essentially seeing it all, he's like, please give me my life back. I didn't realize how, important I was to my community. I didn't realize how much of a change I had made. Like, please just give me this one last chance and I'll always treasure what I've had. And, of course, his guardian angel, what is his angel's name? Charles? Or
Clarence.
I was going to say it's an old name.
Yeah. I just remember it because I hear Jimmy Stewart's voice like in my head saying it. Clarence, what do you mean, Clarence? Like, all that.
Yeah, and then obviously at the end, he the community comes together to raise a bunch of money that was misplaced by his uncle, and then throughout the donations, he sees a Adventures of Tom Sawyer book. And then his youngest daughter says, whenever the bells ring, an angel gets its wings.
Right.
And that made me think of the Red Bull commercial, and I got a laugh out of that.
Oh, I didn't even think of that, but now I will.
But this was a really good movie because the whole time he's like, okay, I'm the second that I can, I'm seeing you suckers later. I'm going to Peru. I'm going to Montego. I'm going to Sweden, France, Europe, Asia, Australia to go just see things and then, work and just really get cultured in the world.
He wanted to be an architect.
And I do get it. Everybody's had those ideas like, what, maybe seeing the world wouldn't be too bad. Like getting away from home for, an extended amount of years to really just learn and, educate myself on things. But definitely seeing how much of a community base revolved around him, especially involving the loan company that his father ran. I just it didn't make sense in the beginning, but seeing everything on the opposite spectrum, I do have a bigger appreciation for his sacrifices, and obviously he did too later on. But he gave up his honeymoon money, him and his wife, to help finance and furnish the money people needed in the bank, and they just essentially at every hardship he was like, okay, I can either go or I can stay, because every chance it was like when his brother, when his dad had a stroke and he had to stay and run the bank, he gave his college money to his brother for 4 years, and he became a second place like all American football player. And then his brother went and became a Navy fighter pilot who was coming home for a big award after, I think it was World War II. I think it was after he stopped a kamikaze pilot. I might be remembering that wrong. And then, just all these other big events that he's like, man, that really should have just been me, because that was always, the dream. I'm going to go out. I'm going to do something big. I'm going to make a big difference doing things. But, low and unbeknownst to him, him staying was the best thing for the town, because it even had a whole different name. It changed to what? Potterville,
yeah, after Mr. Potter.
Yeah, in those overpriced slums, everyone was, it was almost like it was dog eat dog. Like, oh, you're down on your luck. I might be down on mine, but you're worse off than me. Let me kick you, while you're down, damn near. And I gotta say, that was just a really big shock because of how just close everyone was at all times.
That's true. He didn't even realize how close everything was until, Clarence showed him at the end, with him like being removed from the whole equation of the town, and like how a deer evolved, and basically Potter became like the lord of, the whole village.
Yeah. I know I talked a lot, so you guys please.
I just wanted to ask you guys, have you seen this movie before? Is this your first viewing?
It's my first viewing, but I've always heard of it, like mentioned around, like Christmas movies people should watch if they want a really good feel-good movie.
Yeah.
Like It's a Wonderful Life is always like the number one people recommend, because, especially during the holiday like that, when he was thinking about taking his life, Christmas, yes, it is, a happy time for some, but, for others, they have, loved ones passed. They have, hard memories of, losing everything, or, the Christmas spirit just puts them in a sour mood because they just, don't have anything to be happy about. So it was very surreal seeing how up until that point, like, yeah, he was down and upset about a few different things, but it was when his uncle had lost that what was it, like $10,000? It was a large sum of money back then.
Yeah, I want to say it was like $800 or something. It was something.
Yeah, it was something like very large. And when he was basically begging and pleading, like, you can take this little life insurance policy I have. It ain't, he said it ain't worth shit, but I gotta have that, man.
Yeah.
And Potter's essentially laughed at him and was like, you're better to me dead than alive. I don't need that.
Well, he steals the money from his uncle. Like, his uncle basically leaves it in the newspaper that Potter grabs, and then Potter realizes it's money, and he's an asshole, and he fucking takes it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you're going out of business. I'm gonna call the police." While he's the one stealing from them, like, he's just a dickhead. He's the biggest asshole.
That scene because I had to step away. Like, I saw the scene with the newspaper when I came back. It was a whole different scene. I was like, I can't afford to rewind it, so I'm just gonna have to miss it.
But yeah, that's a big plot point. The miss.
Okay, now everything makes sense.
I guess this movie didn't really make money when it first released. Like, it took until I guess like being re-released on television to basically get its notoriety and its popularity. And it's kind of a shame, at least back then. It's like, I mean, it's considered one of the greatest Christmas movies, probably one of the greatest movies ever made at this point. And I mean, I'm glad it had its, it definitely got its appreciation that it definitely deserved. And at least Jimmy Stewart was still alive when, it was getting its notoriety at that point. But this I guess it's like it's just one of those things where it's just after the re-release, that's how it gets its, second life.
Yeah, and it's crazy how that happens for some movies. Like, oh, it didn't do good while it was first released, but I'm not gonna call it the cult following, but the more popular it became was when it went to home viewing.
Yeah, I think like Christmas Story is kind of up there as one of those kind of movies.
Yeah.
Where Christmas Story is like too shoved in your face. I think It's a Wonderful Life. People like look past it because it's an old black and white movie. It took me a while to watch it too. I was probably like 4 or 5 years ago when I first saw it myself. I'm like, all right, I heard a lot about this movie. Let me just fucking watch it. Let's see if it's even any good. And then I watched it. I'm like, oh wow, this movie's amazing. Like, this movie's great.
Yeah.
I definitely am glad I wouldn't say I forced myself, but I'm glad I like sat down and actually took the time to watch it eventually. And it definitely deserves the classic name like that. It's definitely a classic.
Yeah, I agree. This is the first time I've watched it. I've always heard about it, and I even like knew the plot, like not the details, but like I knew it's just like he wants to end his life, and he's shown what the world looks like without him, and he regrets it. And I kind of thought that was going to be the whole movie. So like the first hour and a half just being like, his sacrifices leading up to it was kind of shocking. Like knowing like where the movie ends up, I was kind of surprised that they gave you that much exposition, but it like kind of built his character a lot, and I thought that was very strong. And I don't know, it's kind of like, I don't want to say relatable, but I could imagine for like a lot of people, it's very relatable. Like, I don't know, he definitely took his anger out on his family in a bad way, but like just trying to hold all the work stress and everything together, and during the holidays while your family's just like doesn't know like doesn't know what he's going through is like, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. And he's just like trying his best to not be an asshole, and then he just ends up being like a huge asshole.
I know, it's funny. I find it funny. He's like, why do we have all these darn kids? Like, he's just going like, why do we have all these kids?
He's just having this huge breakdown. And it's like, I can't say that I don't blame him or I misunderstand him.
Yeah.
Because even all the way from like childhood, he's been, the great moral compass. Because even when he was working at that drugstore and the old man, like, he was unhappy, you could tell he was drunk. He was smoking those cigars, and he mixed up this lady's medicine with poison. Like, he could have obviously just went right along with it, but he was like, no, I know you're not happy. I know you're in a really tough situation, but, I promise I'm not going to tell anybody, just please don't hit me in my bad ear anymore. He just kept going and going.
That was upsetting,
And watching it, I'm like, I'm kind of pissed off for him.
Yeah.
Like, to say he sacrificed selflessly is an understatement.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Oh, go ahead, Tony.
Not to derail the conversation, but the guy was just drunk and like accidentally put the poison in, because like the bottle was like clearly labeled poison. Like, I didn't understand. Was he like trying to do that? Was he just like in a really bad mood?
He was just in a drunk stupor.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think like his relative died, and like he was just upset about that. And then
I was gonna say that photo looked to be of a young man, maybe like a close nephew, son, something like that.
Yeah, it was something.
The way that he worded it, and when he was like, "Oh, I know you didn't," I know, don't, like, I won't tell anyone. It made me think like, oh, maybe he thinks he did it on purpose. I don't know, something weird about it. I was confused. Okay.
Another thing I thought was funny was the whole time, even as a still when he was a kid, there was the young George Bailey, there was the young soon to be Mary Bailey, and then there was the girl Violet, who is essentially just kind of, you know, if you know what I'm trying to get at, you know.
She's
like, she's like, what's wrong with that? Why can't I like every boy?
I like every boy kind of thing, you know.
Yeah. And then she has all the gentleman callers, you know, years down the road, kind of making fun of him, saying, you know, we can go up here, we can do this, and she was like, dude, what are you talking about? I want to do one thing and one thing only. I don't give a fuck about any of that. And that did break my heart, because you could tell he was, you know, very distraught about, my brother's been gone to college for 4 years. He found a wife. I've been, you know, stuck here. And I think that was his whole thing. He just felt stuck where he was.
Yeah. Yeah, he never got to explore any other location. He was just at that town.
Yeah. And, you know, being stuck, especially, you know, when you have these plans like, oh, I'm going to go here, do this, or like, oh, I'm just going to go see the world, you know, while I'm young. And then, you know, if I get married, it happens. Because he said straight up to marry, it's hard to say, like, he was in his late 30s or something.
Yeah, it was like everyone went to college, and he was like even older than everyone who already graduated. So he was like late 20s at least.
Yeah, so he was like, you know, marriage is good for you and Sam and everyone else, but not me. I'm going to go see the world, baby. I'm not. And, you know, Mary was a very sweet person, even when they were kids. And I was like, okay, dude, I know you're upset, but you can tell this woman is trying to comfort you and just be nice. There's no reason to be this.
He was being an asshole, and he really was. And then she shatters that record that they're
she fucking broke the fuck.
I'm like, oh man. So like, actually, that part's pretty upsetting. I mean, it's funny that like she goes to like that drastic end, but like, she was like pissed off, and then she's like, her mother wants nothing to do with George Bailey. She's like, I don't want you talking to him. Go marry this other guy who's rich.
Sam Wainwright, and he's in fucking Rochester, New York, with that flapper girl.
He has some other girlfriend
on the side.
Yeah, so like he doesn't care about her either. And then
he's in my hometown.
And then they and like George Bailey like is talking to him, and then they embrace, and it's actually like a nice moment at that point. And like I like the moment where they first are dancing at the like high school dance, and they fall in the pool, and then she's like he's basically promising her the moon, and then she's doing something nice like years later after college, presenting him the moon painting that she made and the song that they sang on that night, and he completely ignores it. He's such a dickhead at that moment.
He was just like, you know, I'm just gonna be here for a minute. You know, I'm not really interested in any of that other stuff. And I'm like, dude, I understand being a man who ignores signs and hints that a woman's interested. We all do. But it is very blatantly in your face. Like, y'all were singing the Buffalo Girl song. She even made, and it was a really good painting. I want to say that first and foremost. Like, she made the painting that said George, lasso the moon.
Yeah.
And it was like exactly what he said. You know, it had his really big smile and everything. And it even had his outfit he was wearing that night.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Get off your high horse for like 5 minutes.
I mean, like that scene is like a little infuriating, but I like that there are those moments where George Bailey is unlikable, because it shows that he's an actual human. If he was like perfect throughout the whole movie, you go like, all right, is this even a real character? Is this just Jesus? Like, who is this guy?
Exactly.
Like this is like an actual human who has his like ups and downs, like every person does. It's actually like a nice like sentiment in that, you know, like you're still rooting for him even though he has his dickest moments, you know, which, you know, we all do.
He does so many good things, so he's got to have those quirks. I thought it was funny from the beginning they gave him that character, because he was kind of a dick in the pharmacy too, because I don't know why I thought it was funny. with the girls. She tries to order it. She's like, "Oh, I don't know what I want," and then she's like, "Oh, I want a chocolate ice cream." He's like, "With coconuts?" She's like, "I don't like coconuts," and then he starts lecturing her about coconuts.
Yeah, he just lectures about where coconuts come from. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Maybe she's allergic and you're about to kill her. Consider it an anaphylactic shock, you douchebag.
You're drinking it anyway. But I like how like all that stuff is set up, like him losing his ear. You know, she whispers in this one ear he can't hear. I love you till the day I die. Like basically setting up like she wants to marry him, and then they do get married. There's a lot of setup and like payoffs, which is really nice with this movie. There's a lot of moving parts. And there's like even like slight details like you could like blink and miss and notice and not notice that like adds another element to it.
Yeah, definitely and I agree. The moments where he's, being a douchebag, unlikable, he's being, a dick, like it does add to the humanity of the story they're trying to portray. Mm-hmm. And it didn't take. I don't want it to come off like it took away from the story in any capacity. Like, no, it just added that extra layer. Like, he's a normal person with regular emotions and frustrations. Like, yeah, he's gonna have those times where he's just off the wall because he doesn't, know how to say like, honey, I'm having a really hard time right now. There's stuff going wrong, and I don't think we're gonna be able to make it through the holiday.
Right. Exactly.
And that's understandable. That happens sometimes.
Yeah, he's too stubborn for that,
But
how stubborn he is.
But definitely the heart when the moment is heartwarming when he makes his sacrifice, you can tell like he's got that moment like, okay, should I or should I not? Like when him and Mary were married and the his taxi driver friend was driving him off. And his wife was saying, like, George, don't go. Let's just keep going. Because she knew how much it meant to him. Because that's what he's always talked about, whenever they see each other.
Yeah, they're supposed
and
to
he was like, I'll be back in a minute. Because, at his core, he really does care about his home. And, the traveling thing, in my opinion, I don't think it's a front or an escape. But I think it's just, that want that we all have.
For sure. Yeah, and he like sacrifices his money for that honeymoon to save the citizens of that town. I forget what the town is called. I just know it's Pottersville when it's not. It's Pottersville when it's not. I'm like in the alternate state.
Yeah, I can't remember what the town's called. I'm just gonna call it Baileyville because he's basically the mayor of the town. Like,
yeah, basically. Well, I know he has his own housing, like Bailey something. Mm-hmm. He has his own housing, like apartments at some point. So that counts.
Yeah, I know we didn't. I skipped right over this in the beginning, but when it's the two saints, I can't think of their name, but then they're talking to each other like, oh. We're getting a lot of prayers and asking for help for a fella named George Bailey, and the other one's talking like, George Bailey, huh? Who? Which guardian angel do you think we should put on duty for this one? They're like, well, what about Clarence? He hasn't got his wings yet, and they're thinking to themselves, maybe he'd do a good job in his finally time for him to earn those wings. And he's like, oh boy, am I finally going to get my wings? I've been here for 200 years and everyone's starting to talk. Yeah. And I was like, that was such a funny just interaction between them. And, it's not funny like, haha. It was just funny like, oh, wow, this is, it's just like in the
banter. Yeah.
Yeah, the banter.
I do like how it starts out their perspective and they're like watching over George Bailey's life, so there's a reason we're kind of going through everything. And like everything ties in together. Like I don't think any scene that they show of like moments of his life is wasted. Like I think each scene and each moment of his life we needed to see to kind of understand where his mindset was at like his lowest end at the end of the movie, basically. And then once it becomes Pottersville, like it almost feels like it's kind of like Back to the Future, and like it's like a noir movie at the same time because like no one knows who he is, and like it's so dark, like the whole composition of like each shot and like how it looks, like everything's in shadow and it's like kind of creepy. I just like how it's like so juxtaposed, so like just like juxtaposition, like how it looks and everything. It's completely different. It's like a different director almost shot that part, or at least like a director of photography, which is cool.
Yeah, definitely. Pottersville was a very big just wake up shock because everything literally got turned on its head.
Yeah,
everyone was just real mean to each other. There was essentially no, there was no joy, there was no glee, no happiness, not even, like a touch of like just humor, like people joking back and forth. It was almost, and it was very slummy. Not scummy, but slummy.
Yeah, well, there's like it almost like felt like a red light district at that point.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. A red light district. Thank you.
It's like Biff's Casino and Back to the Future.
Yeah, it did feel like that. They definitely had to take some elements from that movie for that.
Yeah, and definitely, I think for me, him seeing that, and I've talked about it, but him realizing the impact he had. And the fact, everyone in the community came together to raise the money, to help him for once. Right. I think that just finally spoke leaps and bounds on where everyone else was. Because at any point, in his youth, he could have said, man, fuck this. I'm gone. I've done what I said I was going to do. I'm not going to run this loan company. I'm not going to stay here. I've got a wife now. I've got kids. I want to, let them live the life I never could. But, he chose to stay there and help the people that he grew up with, people he's worked with, and even people, who still kept moving on into town. And definitely I see why you picked this as a movie. This is especially for, where Christmas has kind of turned to be, this big money-making corporate thing.
Monster.
Like, that's a whole nother conversation, but this does embody what Christmas is about. It's just helping people for the sake of helping without expecting anything in return.
Yeah.
Because there's no way he would have known, like, oh, this girl Mary, who, and you could tell he definitely had a fancy for her after the dance when he was holding her robe, but he was like, oh, well, maybe I could. And then, his dad has that stroke, and that was his first chance to, get a love life going. But, Mary still kept that, spark of infatuation for him all those years later. And then finally, when Sam Wainwright was like, yeah, I'll give you a really, nice job making soybean plastics. And then they're just literally looking at each other with goo eyes. And they're like, I've been waiting too long for this. I'm not going to miss another shot.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. I like how it's kind of all set up. And it's kind of funny that, like, in the alternate reality, her reality is like, she was never married. She was a nun or something. Like, that's her alternate. Like, that's how devoted she was to George Bailey. And if he didn't exist, she's not going to marry at all, I guess.
Yeah. And that was, that did touch a place I wasn't expecting because, obviously, it wasn't like she was an unattractive woman in the movie.
No, she looked great.
Like, she was very beautiful. She had those legs. And I'm like, but it's like people say, looks aren't everything. And, George had a very likable personality, even with, some of his flaws.
Yeah.
And I think, she was like, I love George for George. And if it ain't George, it ain't right.
I guess so. But, like, when she sees George, she's like, oh my gosh, like, get away from me kind of thing.
Yeah. Like, who is this?
Yeah. It's pretty funny. Well, like, I mean, it is the right reaction. Like, yeah, if you never saw this person in your life and they're like trying to like come towards you and grab you, like, yeah, get the fuck out of there, you know?
I liked how him just walking around the city and like or town and just seeing all these people and trying to figure out what the hell's going on escalated to the point where the police are trying to shoot him.
Yeah, it's really funny.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, he's just shooting him in like the open street too. Like there's people walking everywhere, and he's just shooting them like right down the street. Like, oh, stand back, and he's opening fire.
Pow pow.
And I like how the cabbie and the police officer, I forget who is who, but he's like, Bert, Ernie, don't you know who I am?
Yeah.
Bert and Ernie. It's just like, oh, that's probably where they got the names for Sesame Street. Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny.
You know, this is random, but you know what I really liked in this movie? The voice acting for that one bartender who was like real jerk.
Oh, Nick or whatever.
Yeah, Nick. His voice was not hilarious. It was just old timey. Yeah,
he put on like that grittier like New York to it once he became like the evil version of himself. That was fun. And I know like a lot of cartoons kind of took this like this plot, at least like, oh, if you didn't exist, what would your world look like? I know they did that in Fairly Odd Parents one episode.
Yeah.
And like everyone's life is better without Timmy Turner in it, which is kind of fucked up. Well, it was kind of funny for that cartoon. But yeah, it's definitely like it's like a timeless story that you could kind of use with any character, and like you will get like different, you know, it's all about like the character study that like kind of makes it interesting.
Right.
Yeah. I don't think I have too much more to say. I know I did a lot of talking because this really was a good Christmas movie.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. Well, the one thing I want to add, the kid who's dancing with Mary at the school dance, who like opens the pool gates, you know, and is like jealous of George Bailey. That's the original Alfalfa. That's Alfalfa who does that. There's like other little other facts. Oh, when Billy walks off his uncle Billy, I forget what exactly the scene is, but he's like drunk and he's like stumbling around.
Oh yeah, when he's leaving after Harry comes back.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, I'm fine.
Yeah,
and then he keeps singing that song.
That spot, that part exactly. Like when all that shit crashes, it's literally like one of the set assistants like holding a bunch of props, and he dropped the fucking plate of a bunch of light bulbs and shit, and just the timing of it all breaking and just like the actor playing it off, like it just like, you know, that was all improvised. Like it wasn't supposed to make that sound. Yeah, he just dropped a bunch of shit, and I guess the director like gave him raise, like improving the sound design or something. So that's a really cool moment. And like, well, the first time I even seen anything from this movie is probably the same with you guys. I'm assuming is Christmas Vacation, when the kid is watching. Every time a bell rings, the angel gets its wings. Like I knew it from that scene. I'm like, oh, what is this? And then I finally watched. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. This is a good movie.
Yeah, I know it from that scene. And funny enough, I also know the record-breaking scene.
Oh, really?
Because it was a meme somebody
I do remember that as a meme. I do remember that as a meme too.
Because it was some annoying song playing, and she just obliterated the record. And I was like, Jesus Christ, what movie is this from?
Yeah, I do remember that. Well, you guys want to go into final thoughts on It's a Wonderful Life, 1946?
Yeah, I'll take the first stab at it. Not stab, I'll take the first run at it. This is... I don't want to, underplay it. This is a very, very good movie. Like, and the fact that, we see a character who sacrifices so much, finally get that help at the end from the same people he's been helping his whole life. Like with the drugstore owner, he didn't give the poisoned not the poison, but the defective medicine to the woman's child because it would have killed him. And then years later, he buys him that suitcase, and then he tells him when he's like, "All right, how much do I owe you?" And he's like, "Nothing. Your old boss paid for it." And he's like, "Really? Man, he's a pretty swell guy." And then like obviously when his father unfortunately passes after the stroke, and he essentially tells Potters off, and he's like, "No matter how big and bad you are, you will be poor in terms of spirit because all you do is see people as a dollar sign." And my father, when he started this business, he saw people as people, no matter how big or small their request might be. And the board of directors was like, "We're not going to side with Potters only if you stay here and run the bank." And for every sacrifice he made, he gained something else in return. And I do think, especially leading up to the point where he was having those intense negative thoughts on Christmas Eve after, that last bit of misfortune, he was like, I can't do it anymore. I've given up my youth for everything. I've given up my dreams for everything. I've helped so much. I'm the one in need of help now. I need people to help me for once. And he did get that when he saw what the future could have been, if he was never born. His brother would have died. His community would have essentially turned into, a really rough area because of just how grimy and slimy everyone turned into. And then the fact that his wife just kind of faded into obscurity, being just, oh, she's just an old maid librarian. She never married. She never dated around. She's got 57 cats that she takes care of.
Yeah.
And, especially that end piece where it's his youngest daughter who reminds him like, oh, every time the bell rings, an angel gets its wings. And as a part of the donation money, he gets the Adventures of Tom Sawyer book from his guardian angel. The way everything turns full circle, especially, at the wrap up of him seeing the major impact he's had on not just everyone else's life, but just as how the community thought and approached situations as a whole. Excuse me. It just really, spoke volumes to the character that he was, trying to portray, even with his flaws, because, sacrificing your youth, your dreams to essentially help a community, that's nothing to sneeze at, especially considering, he started from a very young age and he recognized, how empathetic people, needed that connection of empathy. I definitely think this is a 9 out of 10 movie. Like, this is a really great holiday movie everyone should watch at least once. Like, definitely show it to your kids, show it to, grandparents and, older family members have probably seen it. But it's definitely something around the holidays everyone should see at least one time, just to, show you not necessarily just the spirit of Christmas, but what it means to truly be selfless and what the potentials could be if, you act selfishly.
Well, I couldn't say it better myself, Jerry. Thank you. Tony, you want me to go? You want to take it away?
I can give my review.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. I think very, very strong movie. I've never seen it until now. Even know it's like one of those movies. Even knowing like what like the payoff is and like the point. Like even watching it still, it's like stronger than like you would imagine it to be. Yeah. Even knowing like what's gonna happen, still a very strong movie. I think I'd probably give it a 9. I think the characters are very well written. I think the guardian angel is. I mean, he's not funny, but he's definitely an interesting character in his own. He's not just like, I don't know, just like an angel that comes down and just like does his thing and leaves. Like he has his own character as well, which I thought was like really cool. Like every single character has like a character, which is kind of new. Yeah. Like there's a lot of movies that don't do that, right? So
almost every character has an arc too, which is
yeah.
I do feel bad. Oh, go ahead, Tony.
Oh no! I was just gonna say I don't have much else to say. I think it's a great movie.
I was gonna say I do feel bad for Billy once he loses the money. It's like all Potter's fault. I'm like, oh man,
yeah,
that guy. You just want to give him a hug. I just want to bring up this, like with the Gremlins movie, they wanted to take like a lot of elements from this with like a lot of houses are getting foreclosed, and I do kind of have like a little bit undertone, but it was going to be played a lot more with the Mrs. Deagle character. She was going to be like basically like Mr. Potter, and like she was going to basically like foreclose all these houses, but that was like a plot they kind of like cut out of the movie. So I mean, there are some parallels with Gremlins in this movie, which is kind of fun. Like if you like know of it and like watch it back to back, there's definitely like there's actually some parallels, which is kind of fun. Yeah, this movie, it's definitely, I would agree with Jerry, everything he said. Like everyone should at least see this once, and it definitely like brings the spirit of Christmas. And it's not like super commercialized. It's not about Santa. It's not about like all this stuff. Not saying that Santa Claus movies aren't good or bad or whatever, but it's just like kind of breaks it down just the raw essence of what it should be about. Besides like adding Jesus. But there's angels in it and stuff, so it works. Yeah, and Jimmy Stewart, he was an interesting guy. Like he was a war hero. I think he was a World War II pilot, if I'm not mistaken. But I know he like fought in World War II, and he was in all these different movies, and like he just has like such a unique voice and like way of acting. It's Jimmy Stewart whenever like you could just like hear it down the hallway and go like, yeah, that's Jimmy Stewart's voice. But yeah, I would agree with you guys. I'd give this a 9. It's definitely closer to a 10 than an 8. But like I don't know. Maybe the more I watch it, the more it'll lean closer to a 10. But right now it's a 9.
Yeah, I agree. Especially on my end, it's closer to a 10 than an 8. This is, it's just a good, fun holiday movie. There's no serious undertones. It's just feel good for the sake of feeling good.
Right. I agree. Yeah, I'm glad this has been on my list for recommendations for like years. And I was like, oh shit, I got to do a Christmas movie. What do I do? I'm like, oh yeah, I wanted to do this forever ago. All right, we'll do this movie. So it kind of worked out. And Christmas of the Joker, I technically did do with Matt already, but like it's such a great tie-in that like, how could you not? Yeah. So we have choices for next episode, and I believe it's Tony's turn.
Yeah, I looked up my list of movies before I got on here. I kind of forgot that we had to plan another episode, so I didn't have anything prepared until right before. I just remembered a movie I watched, and I loved it, and I want to see what you guys think of it. And that is going to be Jackie Chan's Police Story.
Okay. All right.
Amazing movie. And then I guess this short. I hadn't really thought about that one, but off the top of my head, I'm thinking just some episode from Jackie Chan Adventures.
Yeah, that would make sense. I was about to say that probably would be the best. All right, I'm down for this. Police Story 1985. This is really early Jackie Chan.
Yeah, this was still
it's amazing.
Still doing all of his own stunts, and I think he still carried around that Uzi.
Yeah, I have not seen this movie.
It's great. I think this one's dubbed. Yeah, it's like straight out of Hong Kong. Great movie.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, if you don't want to be spoiled for Police Story and Jackie Chan Adventures episode anything, make sure to watch that before the next episode. So watch every episode of Jackie Chan's Adventure, and
that's
you'll be.
We're just gonna like pick. We're just gonna pull from the whole series.
Yeah. So I guess that's the episode. So 3, 2, 1. This was Josh sending you off up and away until next BatYard's finest episode.
And this is Tony with Green Lantern's light.
I think that's Jerry's line, but that's fine.
Oh shit.
And this is Jerry, and we're becoming super pals one episode at a time.
All right, bye everyone. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays, Merry New Year.
Happy 2025.